Hello, welcome back. I am Lady Darcy Darkness, and this is Confessions from the Dark Side. How are y'all in this wonderful community? Now, I am going to get the disclaimer out of the way because I cannot be trusted with a potty mouth like mine. So let's get started, shall we? We are full of so much adult content that some of you may think this is necessary and some of you think this is needed. If you are one of those people, then thanks for checking us out. But I'll say this only once. If you can't stand the heat, then get the fuck out of my kitchen. Now, for everyone else who likes what we have here, then regular scheduled programming will continue. Shall we get started? Are we ready? What are we covering today? Well, it's Confessions from the Dark Side presents reviews from the Dark Side, and today is Salem's Lot, HBO's turn to change a classic Stephen King story into their vision, their reimagining, or whatever they want to class this reboot as. We get to see their vision and what they thought Salem's Lot should be for this generation. And like I keep saying on my streams, is there is so many movies. There's been a hit or miss. The things that you were looking forward to have not gave us the same happiness and the same feeling when we're watching and reviewing and sharing our thoughts with the community. So it can take more time to actually do. So we are going to see what HBO did to Salem's Lot and see if we agree here at Confessions in the Dark Side or if we disagree. So let's get started, shall we? As I said, this is a review of Salem's Lot, and this was released by HBO in 2024. Do you like Salem's Lot, audience, at Confessions from the Dark Side? Are you a fan of Stephen King? I think people know that I am a fan of Stephen King, but his actual attitude towards, well, his fans and how he's actually shown himself on the internet, especially of his actual true character, it makes you not, well, it opens your eyes to the people that you looked up to and maybe idolized and shows you under just behind the curtain a wee bit and made you open your eyes and realize that things are not as they seem or as you thought they were. But he is a huge horror writer, and I grew up reading his books and literally losing myself in his universe. Let's see what HBO has. Salem's Lot, HBO turn to make it a shambles. Stephen King said this was the best version. Okay, Mr. King, anything for those checks, right? Because, people got to get paid. You know about the master's house, yet you take the job. That's pretty much how I see it as. So the movie starts basically in the small town of Jerusalem's Lot. Well, the small town where the house, Jerusalem's Lot, is situated. Now, there's a creepy old guy who's taken over the antique store. And this guy's been in like loads of things. He's been in like Game of Thrones and things like that. And he always plays creepy as fuck people. He's probably a really nice guy in real life, but he plays a fucking creepy guy, creepy, dodgy, shady guy incredibly well. He takes the money, he offers money to some locals to do one thing for him. And that's how all the movies start. All the story starts where they need people to bring the master basically to his home. But they don't know at this point who's in the coffin or what is in the coffin. But they only employ two guys to lift a coffin full of dirt, which makes no sense. A crate that's one of a kind, yet when people say this, it means it's very anticlimactic and more of a showboat situation. Look at the shiny. Yet only to lifting it down the stairs, it's the size of a coffin filled with dirt and a body, so it would weigh a lot. I'm so sorry those who, well, you would need a lot more to carry that or like a machine or something. Carry it. You can tell it's way too heavy for those two without equipment or experience. They damage it, funnily enough, and they damage it, and obviously the dirt starts to spill out. If it's anything like a lot of old myths and lore of vampires, is that they travel with the dirt from their homeland because it has properties of their power, properties of healing properties, and things like that. That's why it wasn't just coffins. A lot of the time, it was a part of them where they were created, where they were born, type thing, that they would travel with this dirt because it has other properties. And again, a lot of lore changes with every movie to suit the writer and the narrator. It made me laugh that there was no way that those two guys could lift that. Everyone knows and has been told of the stories and the lore of the history of this house and this town, yet they want to peek again in the lore of the stories in the small town. Well, you would listen, wouldn't you, when weird shit starts to happen? It only happens when, that house seems to get activated or the original owner or someone seems to inhabit the house. Get in trouble? I don't like work. Okay, Grim Reaper. The guy at the start, like I said, a very, very creepy guy, and he's very shifty in what he's doing. He's listening. He's basically Renfield. He's basically the master version of Renfield. He's his eyes in the daylight. He listens, he organises, he's very articulate, he gets everything in place for the Master's arrival, and so the Master can, well, do what he does best, cause chaos and change a bunch of people into vampires. So there we go. We don't understand why he comes back every so often and why he totally decimates the town and why it keeps happening and why the cycle randomly appears. It's kind of like the way Pennywise is. Pennywise, again, other universe, but he just randomly shows up every 27 years and causes shit. Yet people forget, no one remembers. It's weird. It's such a like an abuse that it's like, what the fuck? Our brains are amazing. I've said it before. They can make us see things, but they can also protect us by not letting us see behind the curtain, basically. So there's a guy who's returned back and he's a writer. He actually, his family were killed when he was a child, completely traumatized by an accident. And he's come back to write a story of his experience, I think, of how the town affected him. I think he's like doing a story based on his experience of how his family died, everything that happened to him, and also all the kind of lore and history of the town. Because again, you're from a creepy as fuck town, and again, small towns have their own baggage, as does everywhere, not just in the Stephen King universe. We get a lot of characters in here that kind of stick out. Like we have a sexist boss because it's based in the 70s, people, so you can tell straight away that they've went back to the 70s, they went back to like a simpler time. And there's sexist men who are in the workplace towards women, expecting women to basically be their mothers or their wives, it seems, to basically run after them, make them coffee. They're drinking shit coffee, which really annoyed me, and he basically was like, I showed her how to make coffee, and it's like, well done, mate, you just came across as a condescending douche, but hey. So Salem's Lot or Jerusalem's Lot, as it's actually called. It was bought apparently by the fine furnishings European guy who looks like a cuck. That's the guy who's in Game of Thrones, by the way. Sorry, but they've made him look closer to the monster from Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's what they kind of have had him, made him look like. He kind of looks like that. He doesn't really look anything other than someone's slave, which is terrible, but he does. But he plays his character incredibly well. Welcome to the lot, dickweed. Always a wee cunt at school that you know is going to go to jail the first taste of freedom from childhood. Also, why are the new kids the ones that, well, the only smart ones? Is it because they're new and they're not from the town, so therefore they've not been able to be dumbed down by either the gene pool or anything in the town? The longer you stay in a place in a Stephen King universe, you seem to become dumber, more gullible. When you defend yourself, you always get the blame. How does that even work? It's disgraceful that the bullies seem to have this extra protection and they're the ones that are inflicting the abuse and, well, what will end up being PTSD as an adult, but hey. The creepy fine furnishings man is staring at children. Never a good, never a good sign when an adult takes that step too far, really, isn't it? Basically, when Ben, the writer, comes back, a young woman who had left the town had come back to look after her dad. She actually realizes that he's the writer and he could take me out of here and I could have a different life. There's men in town who seem to think they're in front of this guy, as men do with their competitive macho bullshit that no woman, even most self-respecting woman, do not want to deal with. I know I sure as hell can't be bothered with men acting like that. It's just fucking stupid. Sorry, but it fucking is. Be insecure all you want, but don't fucking amplify it to others. You start spending a lot of time with them, as you know, developing a relationship and talking about things as normal human beings do, getting to know someone. And this pisses people off. Of course it does. There seems to be like a shallow gene pool of men as well. Everybody seems to be related, and you know how that can happen. Fresh meat in town. Come on, everybody's going to want to jump on that cock, right? So the kid, basically, who was smart enough, who didn't, well, he did retaliate to bullies, but he's the smartest kid in this story, and he is in this story. I feel that he is the hero. He's the underdog, and he's the hero. When they're both at the drive-in, they're at like a kind of they're on top of like a roof instead of in a car. And again, they're looking down and watching everyone so they can see everyone, so they can have privacy. But she looks like she wants to jump his bones. That's why she's taken him there. They kind of follow the simple rules of don't have sex in horror movies or you die. But in this case, everybody will die because it's vampires. And it doesn't matter if you follow the rules because they are an anomaly. So rules don't count. So no, they don't have snus now. And again, if this was me and the movie was boring, I'd most likely initiate it because apparently that's what I do. She has a secret spot, like I said. It's very voyeur. Greetings, young master. It's a creepy bastard again. You need a lift. See if a creepy guy randomly stops his car to children and asks if you want to get in and he'll take you home. Most kids, even in the 70s, may have been gullible and said yes. All I see is child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That is all I see. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and dodgy men basically picking up children, which again still happens, but that's why we say stranger danger to kids, and if you don't fucking listen, then they do listen though. But do you think it has a good ending? Of course it does. It's a Stephen King movie. So the kids decide to take a walk in the woods rather than get into the weirdo's vehicle, which I was really all for the fact that they thought, you know what, this doesn't sound right, this doesn't feel right, because he sounds like a child predator. Did. What's your story? The girl is just dying to know things about this guy because obviously she may not have lived there, or she might have. I don't know if maybe he's older than her and she's not aware of the things that actually happened, because it's weird because there's certain things that people remember, there's certain people things that don't remember, yet it was in their library, the news articles and stuff about his family being killed, his parents dying in a car crash and stuff, and how he had to go move away and live with someone else. Again, they both swap Wawa stories about bad childhood, parental deaths, and putting your life on hold for others, and basically kind of bonding over that. He's kind of acting like one of those guys that wants to hear things. He wants to be there for you, but he doesn't. He's just getting you to basically divulge things so he can go, oh, that's terrible, and oh, I'll be there for you, sweetheart. You know what? A wee bit lower. Do you know what I mean? That's what it felt like. Felt like a head pusher moment, but it never happened. Well, HBO, come on. I was so surprised with HBO not having a snooze scene, but hey. A kid, again, another kid from town named Ralphie, has unexpectedly just randomly disappeared. But it's a creepy antique dealer. He's behind it. His creepiness and shadiness turns out that his job is to procure whatever the owner of the house that employs him to do, including hijacking local wains for his master's dinner. And he has no problem getting too creepy for the job at hand, it seems. He has to sacrifice the local kids so that the master's roots can be apparently strong, as dodgy as that sounds. But the first child dies, apparently, and that cements his future in the town. So one for the many, basically, as a sacrifice. I noticed throughout the movie that they try to build up scary, ominous feels, and it lacked every time because it's a remake and it's a book, for fuck's sakes. Being a weirdo like I am, books were my friends and still are. So it's not new, and the build up was terrible because they use the same kind of noises, the same kind of narrative, which is incredibly annoying. So we see again lights change, silence, very anticlimactic. We see a wee hand, some breathing, and some flapping of excitement as he is about to show he is the master. He needs to kill kiddies, all for science, apparently. Who knows? Always a sacrifice. It's like a cleansing of the town. As the stories are like Pennywise, like I said earlier, Pennywise the clown, when he comes back every so often to right the wrongs of humans in the universe, and he gets to take what he wants, but is taken out by the town's kids. Well, Pennywise. But they don't do it right the first time, as you do, because they're children. It seems that Salem's Law is no different in history and lore around the house and the mystery of the deaths. All off from the start and then goes quiet for random periods of time. Sounds legit, right? No. It seems that there's some sort of curse or some sort of thing that may have been promised. Because as we know, there are other universes and other places and everything like that. And just because one thing is like this here doesn't mean that it's like in the other side. So we don't actually know why, how, who, what exactly. And I don't think Stephen King ever really gets his rocks off and jollies off by telling why this is like what has to happen. The vampire again didn't really look like the original vampire. You didn't see the eyes glowing up till later on when you seen the kids. The original was very, very creepy, very, very glow in the dark, vampires. That's what I remember as. It wasn't just their eyes, obviously that glowed up. Their skin was kind of opaque, so it kind of had this weird kind of glow about it. And again, it was the 70s, late 70s, and as you can imagine, for Salem's Law, it would have been you had Return to Salem's Law. Salem's Law actually came out in 1979, so yeah, late 70s, and it had its creepy feels, vampire horror and horror, and it's kind of changed what it actually is. It's been had TV shows and everything. Not once have they ever really came out and said why or how they can prevent it. I don't know if they have ever known how they could prevent it, but usually when there is such a significant change or a significant moment like that, people would have tried to take them out and people would have tried to resolve it so it wouldn't actually come back, and they would still instill it in history and lore of the town. So there is a few people that do, and people just think they're mental in Tin Heart Brigade, but these are the ones who take risks and they do end up getting end up being collateral damage basically, because they're trying to do right for the town and right for the people of the town, people that they grew up with, people that are family, friends. Small town mentality can be an awful thing if you're not from there, but if you are, then there is a sense of community. So why they don't actually teach about their proper history and this actually happening rather than treating it like it doesn't happen and it never happens until it's too late so nothing can be prevented. This is what I hate about this whole story, and also the way Stephen King actually writes. The older I am, I'm noticing that there's lots of plot holes in his stories, even in his books. So read what you will into that, but that's just how I'm seeing and perceiving it the older I get when I go back and read his books. I get a lot of feelings from the creepy fine furnishings guy, that he would love to be the sacrifice. And he would no doubt sacrifice himself so he could be the special one for the master, because he gives me that sort of Renfield vibe. Because you know what Renfield's like. He was always seemed to be the kind of weak choice. Weak to the point where, not saying that he's weak completely, but he was easily manipulated for one, and tell him things and he'll believe it because he's gullible, because he wants it enough. I'm not saying that he's physically weak. I'm talking about the master. It seems they can pick or they can sense who is going to bend to their will. And this guy is a total cuck for the master, it seems, and doesn't give a fuck if he kills people and children along the way, it seems. He has this weird gasm face, as I call it, that makes him even more of a sick puppy when the child's life is finally taken for the sacrifice of the master, and in dodgy form when he's unalived, shall we say. And it's never pretty. Kids die in horror movies. Everybody dies in horror movies. Why should, again, kids be any different? But he kills the wee boy, and it is over quickly for him, it seems, with the way he's killed, because it's basically a blood sacrifice, basically, for the master. And as he takes him out, he uses his demonic hands and eviscerates him in front of creepy fine furnishings guy, and guy gets a blood money shot right across his face, and he's pulling the "oh, is that from me" face. So yes, it's very creepy that he got a money shot to the face and he was so happy about it, but he would love that money shot be his all over the master's face, no doubt. But he just wants to be special and important. But he is, because he is the reason why the master's there, and he is the reason why the master will reign again. But he wants a lot. Again, they're looking for the wee boy, and again, there's never going to be a good outcome, is there really? I like how they've kept the "you must be invited to come in" rule with vampires, because a lot of movies, including Lost Boys, the minute you invite them in, nothing works on them on Lost Boys. Though garlic, holy water, things like that don't work. So different movies have different, obviously, rules and lore about vampires. But this one is we have to invite them in, and these fly. So this is vampires who can fly up to like the second floor and basically scare the bejesus out of people. So if you've seen someone flying out your window with lots of clouds and mist, you'd either think someone had slipped you something, or definitely, we're not in Kansas anymore. Apparently, the writer has trauma. No shit. His parents were killed in a car accident, allegedly, and he had to leave, but he can't really remember much of the town, which again is fight or flight, which is something that happens in times of trauma and times of chaos. So our brains again protect us. So when he's speaking and trying to, like, he's trying to make a connection with this woman because there's obviously something he wants, not just snoo snoo, but obviously maybe to find a connection with someone because he's been alone. Or maybe get a story, he's trying to do something, he seems to have an ulterior motive. So everyone's an edge in town, which is rightly so, because children are going missing and there's a lot of unexplained things happening that no one understands or knows anything about, apparently. And the men in town are like literally blaming the writer for everything, as you do, because they feel threatened. Oh, boo-hoo. That's so toxic. Toxic masculinity. What the fuck? So, like I said, the little children that are being taken, it seems the wee boy who was killed actually had a brother, and he's actually taken as well. He's brought back and is in hospital. After going into his parents' room, he says he's feeling sick. And this is the wee boy before he's turned. They hear a boy, they think they hear Ralphie, which is the wee boy who's been killed, in part of the sacrifice for the master. And there's like ominous music in the garden. You see his harmonica and stuff like that, and the seesaw starts to move. They try and build this up. It doesn't do anything anticlimactic. It's not spooky at all. A fucking horror movie about vampires, again, reimagining of a book and an old movie. We know shit's going to happen, so building that up. And you have to build it up. Shows that you're forcing things, meaning that it's laughable to me. It really, really is. So he's taken, yet he is brought back. He goes to hospital and they say he's got this anemia thing wrong with him, and he feels sick and he's very pale. And then he touches the blood bag, and then he ends up, well, drinking said blood bag, as you do. And remember, we have already seen child vampires, children who've been turned into vampires, like Claudia from Interview the Vampire. Ancient, powerful, but don't let the little child's body convince you that they are innocent. All children in horror movies are evil. They always are either the killers or they are hiding something. So what makes this any different in a Stephen King universe? You know? Their body never grows up. They are innocent but deadly. And again, no excuses here. Innocent and deadly in here too. And not a surprise. Again, there's a drunk gravedigger who's the guy who was in Unbreakable and in Class. The son, he's drunk. And again, he sees the coffin rocking. If you even imagine it being drunk, a coffin a rocking, don't run. Sorry, don't ignore it. Fucking run. Because shit's about to get real, man. So everybody, so the wee boy's attacking everything because just think he's got this power, this magical power where he can do things that he couldn't do before, and also he can fucking fly. So you're to take fucking full advantage of that, aren't you? So kids are asking inappropriate questions at a talk at school with the writer, asking if he's dating the weird the crappy secretary who can't make coffee apparently, and only when shown by a man. So basically, the kid is like, I think it's like a career day type thing, or it's like a talk, and they bring the writer in, and the writer's like just talking about what he does and how he grew up here and everything like that. But the kids are only interested in if he's dating that woman. And again, a child wouldn't ask that question. That would be from like an adult asking that question or ask them to ask that question. So again, it was just like pointless. So the gravedigger has reappeared and he has a wee cute fang mark in his neck. In this movie, it seems to be you are bitten and you turn. Doesn't seem to be any bloodletting or blood sharing. You know how you would feed from your creator, basically, for you to become from human and transition into vampire. It just seems to be a bite. You're bitten from a vampire, you're changed, which again makes no sense because you're getting bitten and nothing is. Yes, the only bodily fluid would be saliva, technically. Or if they had some sort of poison, because some vampires in some lore do have a poison, like a paralytic that can actually paralyze you and obviously change you, kind of thing. But not here, it's just a bite. So he get bit by a kid and now he's going to turn into a vampire. So basically, again, creepy. There's a teacher in the school who keeps going on about the lore of the town, the only person, and people think he's a mental case. because he drinks as well. So he's just trying to say, do you have a crucifix or a St. Christopher's medal? Because this is the only protection against what is coming. And what makes me laugh is the fact that a crucifix or St. Christopher, not against saints or anything like that, but a Christian deity that doesn't exist. A fictitious deity is going to protect you from this monster terrorizing the village. That sounds not right. Won't happen. Won't do anything. Creature of the night, sign me up. Not all is well in Salem's Law. No shit. Are you just figuring this out? That this town's fucked? Again, the gravedigger is cold to the touch, and he seems to just be sleeping. He's just like a generic vampire. Don't we just love our lonely ones sleep knowing they're faster than us and are aware of your breathing and you're in their presence just because they're acting dead and that they are not fully aware to you? Because, like we know before, vampires hear things differently. They can hear things we cannot. They can hear hearts beating from, well, far away. They're aware of everything that's going on just because they don't choose to wake up and acknowledge it. You seem to think that you have the power that he's asleep. Is he asleep? That's the thing. Yet, he's not necrotic, no dying tissue. He's relatively fresh because he's just been bitten. Undead, no shit. According to folklore, they disappear after a few days because the transformation is complete. So it seems to be they kind of go, if they're turned, they disappear and then they come back. And this is what's kind of happened throughout the town and no one's really noticed. The doctor from the hospital says he's definitely dead because she has a stethoscope and a white coat, which means nothing. Pernicious anemia. That's what they're saying that people are dying of. It's not a disease you can catch. Neither is vampirism. Fucking hell. You have to be bitten, scratched, and blood again. So you can be created. It's not a catchable disease, for fuck's sake. And it's the fact that they get so serious where they're like thinking that this is catchable, that this is like a virus that you can catch. No. Ugh. Wow. Just wow. She has no cause of death yet, or cure, because there is no cure. You are saved. You are undead. And still pretty forever. Again, you can go crazy insane as well, which is another one. If you don't eat, they go mental. There's a lot of Tin Hat Brigade townsfolk about lore and history and stories about the house, the incidents and the darkness of the town, but no reason why. But they have records, yet they don't have anything to implement and how to get rid or what actions to do. Because that's what you would do, is leave all this information but not a how-to guide and guidelines. Have you seen some people, they can't take instruction. Someone has got to be trained in this so they can actually fucking implement this, so they can actually, get rid of the problem, for fuck's sake. But hey, creepy kid floating at your window, don't let him in. Let me in. No. Fuck off. Take your headlights and get fucked. One kid actually realizes, holy shit, you are flying and dead, you are a vampire. Hell no. Hell no. Yeah, he tries to play and manipulate Mark. Mark is the kid being bullied at the start, the one who's only intelligent kid in the place, but fails. And he gets so bratty. Not good vampire etiquette. He gets in, but it backfires when he takes a cross from his model set that's sitting at the side of him, and he holds it at him, and it glows. And well, wah, goes the baby vampire, because when it touches his skin, it burns him, of course. He can go where he wants. You gave a vampire consent to enter your home. You just handed over your life and everybody in it. Well done, good job though, Mark. Too late. Run, people. He's turned and now the big crucifix is glowing, like I said, like E.T.'s dodgy finger. Stop fighting and join us. Spoken like a true cult leader zealot. Yes. I revoke my invitation. Fuck yes, get the fuck out. Ha ha ha. Change the lock? That's actually from Buffy, when she does it to Angel. Sorry, Angel, change the locks, because they had a spell, but in this, there's not witches or anything like that to do this. The behaviour of being antisocial pays off. We're usually the most antisocial are the ones that are fucking alive at the end because they don't take any risks. No body in the morgue. Now he's out terrorising the village with the rest of them, with a band of merry undead villagers starving and wanting to eat everything because there's literally lunch walking about. Of course they're going to fucking go and eat everything. And that's the thing, no control. If you're in a small town and you start killing everything and turning everything into yourself, how are you going to feed? You dumbass. The ones at the start are not given really a handbook either. Don't feed off everybody, don't turn everybody, or you won't have anybody left and you'll all end up fucking dying. Don't you just love the town's teacher because he's so paranoid, he's like into supernatural, he's like this expert? Yet he ends up a vampire. He wasn't strong enough just because he was smart. He didn't think he would become a casualty, but he did because he actually did the adult thing and the selfless thing where he tried to help another, and yet he ended up becoming a casualty himself. Ben wants to exhume Danny's body, and it's missing because he's a vampire, not grave robbers. He's out trying to lure people to eat them and turn them. Fuck's sake. Wait till night times, maybe? At the most strongest, especially. And pretty much out everywhere is their domain then. More research? Matt, you need to research, not just the house, the people and the lore. And why? Why has no one ever stopped it? Like, this is when they find out the first child's a sacrifice to consecrate the ground, so a blessing, then the kids are turned. It seems one sacrifice, and then free reign to feed and turn kids. Okay then, and everyone else in town. The main vampire does a few killings, then sets his victims to take down and punish. But it's a punishment, it feels like. It's a tradition, it's a cycle, who knows? But it feels like a bargaining chip. We'll let you be whatever you want, we'll turn a blind line, and every 50 years, we'll do as we please. Then the town is wiped out and we start again till no one remembers. That's right, take out the fellow's food supply, Egypts. Just because it's not right doesn't mean they can't fuck you up. You are in their lair, and they know you are there. And again, it's the fact when you creep about, you're more likely to know someone is about. I'm like that. If you keep about around me, especially if I'm sleeping, I'll wake up and I know you're there. If you make loads of fucking noise, I won't fucking wake up. It's weird. I just would rather people didn't creep about because it's speedy and dodgy as fuck. And it wouldn't be like that with vampires because they can fucking hear you before you even enter the fucking place. But hey. And they know about vampires in the 70s from, like, obviously stories and shit. So why they didn't think about maybe watching a horror movie or two or reading a book that actually talks about vampires, even a fictitious one, just to have some sort of fucking, information and facts in your arsenal so you can fucking use it and maybe protect yourself and other people and, stop more people from being fucking killed. But they don't. Again, they do not. I want to live there. It looks cool and ancient, and that's the Salem's Lot house. I really would live there in a heartbeat. People are intimidated by it and they would leave you the fuck alone. It sounds like the perfect place for me. It means I wouldn't get harassed by people or anyone, and I could just get up to whatever the fuck I wanted. Again, field jump scare again. There's a lot of them in this movie. Again, the kid who's sacrificed and the kid that's been turned into a vampire his mum has had a visit from Danny, the wee boy, and now she's turned, and what they do to her is she's just lying on the morgue table and she starts to, like, her slipper falls off and then she starts to rise up and she keeps talking about her kids and stuff. And again, it doesn't matter if it's daylight, you dumbasses, they might not be powerful and they can die, but they can still take you out. It's creepy as fuck because the mother's in mourning for her son's being taken and killed, but the monster is taken over. And it's kind of like slow motion, like slow-mo. Like the mother is still there and her personality is still there. It's not completely turned to, killing machine, but hey, or actually trolling the humans. But I felt like she was still partially there and grieving because she's wondering where her children are. And again, the cross starts to glow because they make crosses out of basically wee wooden sticks, but again, it's just like you hear a masculine voice spouting shit as they do. Your worst thoughts and feelings, blah blah blah. Such an old cliche to come to our side. You're a waste of space and you're pathetic. Spoken like a true pathetic waste of space. Get new lines. I just love how they do that with vampires and the entities of the supernatural. They spout off the worst things that you feel and they project them back at you because you don't hear them enough in your own head and you think them. They think by them saying them out loud to your face is actually going to have you roll over and for you to do everything that they want you to do by manipulating you. If you feel those things about yourself, make a fucking change. Do you know what I mean? I was like, don't let that fucking be your demise because you're listening to a dumbass fucking tell you you're these things when you're not. She has been bitten. Alcohol and a rabies jab. Is that fuck going to fucking stop it? What the fuck? It might stave it off, but you're going to be turned eventually. The doctor got bit at this point. Vampires on the roof, like golems of the village, just like walking torches, not intimidating at all because of their eyes, by the way, they look like torches. Let's all wave at the vampiric torches looking down at us. Hello, sunlight, we'll destroy you. This isn't Twiglet. Again, the wee boy Mark has been captured. As he does, children are always what ends up being the reason for you going back. Only a little sting. I bet you say that to all the boys, you freaky fuck. Mark has hit the creepy pedo one and made a run for it. More balls than the adults, it seems. The adults left need to take a leaf out of Mark's book. The only intelligent being in the town, the child, who has been warning people about evil in town from the start, and no one has been listening. They go to the local church and the priest they visit. What will he be able to do? He's powerless. This isn't the Exodus. We have no Father Karras. No one's going to be here to fucking save us. Priest has issues with his faith. So therefore, that's how he can be turned. And this is what I kept saying and said. So even though he took his vows and his rights and stuff to be a priest, but because his faith was wavering, he can be turned and they could enter a church. Supernatural really, Father, this means it's not evil, it's just unexplained. So again, supernatural only flies in your favour when you make up stories and spout them as gospel for the sheep. And this is what again I said, that supernatural only is used in Christianity and Catholicism especially when it favours them, a supernatural deity. Even though they've created many supernatural deities to actually scare their flock. But hey, God is saving no one. If God were around, he would have got the fuck out of Dodge from those dumbasses in this town. Save the many, outwit the town. As they don't listen, they did it to themselves. Don't waste your time. God would be getting out of there. Mark was warning everyone in the church that they're coming and that the Tin Hat Theory's teacher was basically the head of them and he's now joined Team Twiglet. No one's listening to him again because he's a child and they think that children don't know anything, which again is condescending as fuck. Team God, how many will survive? None. Mark would be better off going out on his own. A story that feels should be longer yet drags then smacks you to tell you that the end is coming faster than you actually thought, as the story has gone awry and makes no sense. We would love to know more about the town, the history, the folklore. They speak of the vampire entity has tied to the place. Why does he return and why is there no evidence of how to prevent or eradicate him and them? Killing the people we grew up with, people we are friends with. Again, how many are nice and kind folks and how many actually deserve it? The sheriff is leaving. Again, if he's leaving, it's probably the best idea, but it's obviously too late and he doesn't end up getting to leave. But hey, it's not alive. That's why he can take over like that, because the town is dead. Was it ever alive? Is that why the entity is drawn there? Because of the dark CD core that Jerusalem Law actually has, and it doesn't matter how many times they try and redo the cycle or wipe out the town and rebuild, that it continuously will go back to that cycle because the town is doomed, it seems. Things have gone bad in the lot now. Really, it seems nothing ever goes right in the lot anyway. Barlowfile, as I'm calling, because his name's Barlow, but because, paedophile, Barlowfile, has managed to make deals with the town, and everyone has been turned that he needs. They have their humans to bring them dinner, like walking blood bags with empty promises, and they will be protected, but for how long? Get back in a priest. Would you? That's not really going to protect you. He isn't magical. So Mark's parents, again, didn't listen, suffer the consequences for being gullible. They deserved it, Mark. You deserve better. Everyone is being bitten, so they are dead by association, and they just run. Get out now. The time is approaching to get the fuck out of Dodge, people, before it's too late. Mark gets stabbed with wooden flagpoles. Let me in. What the actual fuck? It sounds like a fucking pickup line or someone who misses not being in there already. Bitten and turning, she's reacting to hollow ground. This is the secretary gets bit by someone who was obsessed with her before he turned, and the mother keeps saying, you're supposed to be Taylor. Like, he was promised, because cuck guy promised the guy the girl. The girl he wants, because the girl doesn't want him. What does that sound like? That sounds like abuse. That doesn't sound very, well, happily ever after, to force a woman or anyone to get into a relationship with someone just because he wants her and she didn't want him, but now he's a vampire and he will turn her, and most likely against her will she will turn, and she won't love him. She'll probably most likely go out of her way to fucking make his life a living fucking hell, but then they'll be together. Yeah, okay, because that sounds fucking healthy. Even from a supernatural point of view, it does not. Yes, I do think a lot about this. I know I probably shouldn't, but hey, it's me. Everyone's reacting because they're standing on hallowed ground, because the ones who haven't turned, who are in the process of turning in their transition, actually start to burn because they're on church ground, hallowed ground, holy water, etc. It's kind of kinky though, living in a church. Think of the acoustics in there. I like totally would live in that church. Ben's like, she's not even touched my cock yet. She's fast 'cause she can fly. I do thinking that though, a good job I didn't put my penis in her. You never know when she was fucking turned or if that, again, could cause issues. I don't know. They've never really went into that, how that would work. But anyway, Ben's not safe. Yep, tell us something we don't know, Ben. Also, the vampire warlord sounds like Tony Todd. R.I.P. He really fucking does. Loss in faith, again, like I said, the priest can be turned. Only in this case. The sacrifice for Jeebus. What about the sheriff who turned to leave and he was thrown like a football through the church window, and well, he looks like roadkill now because he should have left when all this shit started, yet he didn't. The town is dead, everyone is dead. The end is nigh. Only Ben, and the doctor, as Mark, is away to kill Barlow on his own. That will do nothing. He is the daywalker of the law. Exactly. He is there to protect everything. Also, killing all your food. What a bunch of idiots. How will they end up turning on each other and then dying painfully? There's blood dripping as Mark enters the fine furnishing store. Bloody handprint, and his wee pal Danny has a massive cross in his face, which didn't heal, which means that they don't regenerate, it seems, in this movie, like if they're hurt. I don't know if it maybe would happen over time, but it hasn't healed at all since that time. Not healing, just madness and power in a child. Such a great invention. Nope, definitely not. I gave you my word, Danny. Mark killed him. Well done. Bigger balls than the adults, like I keep saying. Vampires killed Danny, the gravedigger, and the teacher. Sounds like a bad dope, doesn't it? 3 vampires, Danny, the gravedigger, and a teacher walk into a church, and the end is nigh. All the cars are at the drive-in, and they will never returned because they've obviously been turned. And guess what? Yep, all the boots in the cars, it literally just shows you this is the end scene, you know it's coming to the end, and all the vampires come out the boots, and all I kept thinking, or sorry, the trunks of the cars, and all I kept thinking was, they've most likely been turned there and they've just been shoved in the boots of the car. And then they've done the transition in the car and they've waited till it's dark enough. But it's not really dark enough because it's just because a sign is basically blocking the sun so they can actually come out in the day. Because obviously overcast apparently protects the sun rays, which no, it doesn't. But hey, I have lupus, I understand that. No, it doesn't. But hey, but it got so slow, the movie, that when it got to this, you're already bored. So this didn't, like, help the story or make it any better. It just made it memorable. So it was old school cars that kind of looked like when the boots opened, it kind of sounded like a creaking coffin, which was really cool. So it was. So that was good. And that was probably the only part of the movie that I actually really, really, really enjoyed, as many did. So I thought it was smart and efficient for like a travelling coffin. Let's all go Van Helsing and let's go hunting. So the doctor has been shot by crazy mommy of the secretary. She is the protector of her undead daughter, and why would you want that for your child? The mother is completely mental that she managed to get brainwashed that her daughter would live forever, but she wouldn't live forever though. That's the thing. Yeah, the logic of the mother does not make any sense. Sunset, it's showtime. Beetlejuice, of course, would have sorted them out in no time. The opening of the old school cars, like I said, in the boots sounding very creaky cellar and coffin door like, is the best bit. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the sound. What should be scoffing, but a travelling coffin is just, it's just sounded similar to Get to the Chopper. I was like, that's the wrong movie. Mark Run. He shouldn't have needed to be told twice, but he did. But Mark drives and takes out the movie screen, and the sunlight takes them out. A massacre executed by a child. Shows how dumb the population of Salem's Lot is and what is in their water and what have they been drinking. Everybody loves a human torch its purdy, because it is. The big bad in his coffin, which I would totally sleep in that, wouldn't you? But that old as fuck vampire that's returned home is stronger here, and they are expected to take him out. A wee kid and a writer note, that just makes no sense. So again, Susie Coffee wants snoo snoo and won't stop till he gives her it. So turning him is the best option? No. No Lady Garden is worth going necrotic for. Nope, definitely not. He's standing all majestic as he would. She cries after being staked because she didn't get the writer's bobby. She didn't get the writer's penis. So the closest thing she got was him launching a wooden stake into her. At least she get penetrated by him, just not by the right part. No wonder she's so sad. She got the writer's pencil in the wrong place. She's so bitter about it. Best part, his long tongue getting ready to penetrate. And then he's taken out from behind. Taken out in his prime. Yes, he's just a lump now. But does it still work? Why is he not turning to dust or burning up? Also, how would you explain the disappearance of all those angry villagers and why it's a ghost? Why is it still a ghost town? Mark will be in therapy for the rest of his life, yet seems to be fine after watching his friends and family die and return. And he's fine. Will he return in the future to make sure nothing ever returns? The end was abrupt and it took ages to get there, and just was there and got nothing big for the death and the big bad and the sign at the end telling you that you're leaving Jerusalem's Lot. Yet we know that not always. Definitely not. Let's go to IMDb. Like I said, Salem's Lot is a remake of a old movie from 1979, and the original movie was Vampire Horror and Horror. The TV show that they brought out in 2004, which was actually 25 years later after the movie was released. It was an hour and 31 minutes long, and it was a TV miniseries, and it was vampire horror, drama, horror, mystery, and thriller. I had Rob Lowe in it and Donald Sutherland. And then again, they've waited 45 years later, it seems. Am I getting my. Yeah, 45 years later, they've re-released Salem's Lot through HBO. Be careful what you invite inside. That's the tagline for the movie, and I'm laughing because it sounds like something that you would see in one of those kind of like horror porn parodies. Do you know what I mean? With Miss Neiman Dean. Oh my god. That's what it kind of reminds me of. So yeah. Let's see. The director is Gary Doberman, or Doberman. The writers are Stephen King, of course, and Gary Doberman, and it stars Lewis Pullman, Mackenzie Lee, Jordan Preston Carter, Alfred Woodard, who's an amazing actress. I love her. She's so good. Bill Camp, John Benjamin Hickey, Nicholas Crovetti, Spencer Treat Clark, like I said, from Unbreakable and from Class, Alexander Ward, Daniel Perry, Deborah Christopherson. Again, she's been in lots of stuff from like the 70s and 80s. William Sadler, again, Amazing Death and Bill and Ted, also in Roswell. Timothy John Smith, Mike Kaz, Cade Woodward, Joseph Marella. But anyway, that is the plot story and tagline on IMDb. It says it was out in 2024. It's a 15. It's an hour and 54 minutes long. It's 5.6 out of 10. That's actually fucking pretty good rating for this movie. An author returns to his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot in search of inspiration for his new book, only to discover that the townspeople are being attacked by a bloodthirsty vampire. It's actually not the vampire. The vampire attacked one, and then everybody else did it. So we have, like it says, Ben Mears, a writer who spent part of his childhood in Jerusalem's Lot, Maine, also known as Salem's Lot, has returned after 25 years to write a book about the long-abandoned Marston's house, where he had a bad experience as a child. He soon discovers that an ancient evil has come to town and is turning the residents into vampires. He vows to stop the plague of undead and save the town, yet he leaves the town, makes it worse, and again, why would you return to a place where you had a traumatic event? Yes. And again, could cause trauma to you as an adult and most likely give you the fear and actually make the fucking town end up falling to its knees. So he literally caused it. That's the way they've described it. So horror thriller. I'm trying to see. It was out on the 11th of October. Production companies are New Line Cinema, Atomic Monster, and Vertigo Entertainment. Atomic Monster is James Wan, who does a lot of work with who actually has merged Atomic Monster with Blumhouse, with Jason Blum. And Vertigo is another small company that seems to do like small horror or small sci-fi type things. They don't seem to do lots of big, massive movies. Then we have... Do we have any words? Do we have any words? Do we have any words? Apparently, the gross was 851,156. Doesn't tell you about how much the movie cost to make or the promotion of it. It was a straight to stream as well, so there's not much information on it. So let's go see the words that they are using right now. We have writer, small town, child vampire, Stephen King adaptation, vampire based on novel based on the book, supernatural power based on the works of Stephen King, vampire horror, crucifix, death, hometown, childhood, town, secret, high school, school, graveyard, child, evil presence, abandonment, fear, teenager, ancient, plague, stake in the heart, church, car trunk, driving, psychotronic film, Jerusalem, ghost, hitman, haunting. So not many words actually. And then I think there may have been a parental guide. Parents guide. Do they have one? Okay, so we have sex and nudity, none. Violence and gore, severe, meh. Profanity, moderate. Alcohol, drugs, and smoking, mild. Frightening and intense scenes, severe. Really? Same movie? Rated R for bloody violence and language. Again, okay, same movie, but obviously some people thought that was severe. Okay. Didn't see the substance. No sex or nudity, but they do kind of skirt around it. A male and female flirt, no kissing is involved. The only nudity we see in the film is a scene where it's implied that they slept together because we see the girl hiding behind the door while covering herself with bed sheets. We only see her bare arms and shoulders clutching my pearls, man. Nudity. Violence and gore, severe. A character is beaten to death with a fire poker. Maybe he deserved it. Several vampires are staked towards the end. That is how you kill them. That's actually a less violent way to kill them because you could decapitate them or most likely stab the fuck out of them. But hey, two young boys get into a fight at school. Not very intense. It's called childhood bullying and a kid being a cock. No, it wasn't fucking intense. A boy in a hospital chews through a blood bag. Because that's normal. You don't know he could have a craving for iron. Who the fuck knows? Profanity. Languages include fuck, fucking, shit, asshole, damn it, hell, dillweed. Really? Turd, goof, ugly, Jesus, Christ, and God all used as exclamations. Wow. Alcohol, drugs, and smoking. Matt Burke smokes a pipe, and again, that will be tobacco probably. Father Callahan is a struggling alcoholic. Of course he is, and he has all that fucking access to communal wine, and they fucking put that in his fucking path. What a bunch of dicks. Frightening and intense scenes. Lots of jump scares throughout. Was there, though? There's lots of prepared jump scares that made you prepared to be scared, yet you were not. The vampires are very creepy. Have you seen the original? Why are you surprised? A young boy is fed to a vampire, nothing is shown, but we do hear screaming and see a splatter of blood. Now that's the money shot that goes over Barlowfield's face and he's enjoying it. Barlow's appearance might frighten some sensitive viewers because he's supposed to be intimidating and creepy. That's pretty much what a child catcher and child killer would be. He's not going to be fucking fluffy unicorn rainbows. Do you know what I mean? Oh. A character is suddenly gunned down by a shotgun, very startling and unexpected. Okay. Barlow's first two victims are young kids. He takes two kids from the same family. Susan's death may upset some viewers. Yeah, because her mum basically signs her up to be fucking some guy's love slave for the rest of their life. And he's going to turn her into a vampire against her own fucking will. And her mum fucking said, you know what? I agree with this union. Do as you please. What fucking mother is that? The certifications seem to be like 16 or 15 or 18 plus. It was 15 in the UK and an R in the United States. Do I see similarities to the original movie? Yes and no, but also the original movie wasn't slow. That's the thing. All the remakes seem to be slow. you can build up a story and a rapport and a narrative with characters and show the audience what these characters are actually supposed to be doing in the story without actually using an hour and 54 minutes of a movie. It literally, the ending started about, I think, an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 25 minutes into the movie. It actually started to build up for an ending, so there's only 30 minutes left because they tried to do all this stupid backstory and trying to make a love story behind it as well. And then you had all this bullshit of lore, but never really backed it up with things, and no one was on the same page and no one knew what the fuck they were doing, so it just made no fucking sense whatsoever. So by the time they realised that they had to get to an ending, they're like, oh shit, we've not done the ending, therefore they had to basically give you a couple of jump scares and then push you, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, the ending is here. And then it was like, boom, ending, done. When you seen them coming out, when you seen the cars, most people who have got a brain have realised at this point that the vampires are in there and this is how it's going to end. So you'd already worked it out, and it was just incredibly frustrating that that's what the outcome was of the movie. And it just again didn't really shed any light on why he was there, why he was brought there, and why the town goes through this. And I think that's missing from all the versions of the movie and also the two movies and the miniseries that we've actually had. She had one at 25 years, which was the miniseries with Rob Lowe. They tried to reboot it, and it was a miniseries, and those were huge in the 90s. But in the 2000s, they kind of tried to bring it back, and they did not. They've tried to revamp TV miniseries for many, many years and have failed. This one is 45 years later, and I'm sorry, it was so slow and anticlimactic, man. It was pointless. So when I seen the picture stills, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Do you know that way that there's like, you're remaking another one? Stephen King said it was good. Also, Stephen King said Amber Heard was innocent, so we'll take that as it is like, and the guy is a tool. I'm sorry, but he is. I absolutely loved him. I loved his writing, and I grew up reading these books. And like I said, totally submerging myself into his universe for me to actually think you're a dick. His movie, his remakes, he's got to make money somehow because he's not really kind of bringing us any sort of. His new writings aren't really that great, to be honest. So he's literally clutching at straws because he's got nothing really else. We're going to go look at these reviews because the reviews is they've got 5.6 out of 10 with 29k of people voting. So I'm going to go in. Like I said, I always do 10 reviews. Like I do 10 out of 10, then 1 out of 10, and then I do an average, and then I give what I'm going to give it out of 5. User reviews. We'll go for 10 out of 10 because it's usually AI that writes that. Great film. Some people expect too much. Ha! I have always been a huge fan of the original movie, yet you said people expect too much. So I went in with actually pretty high expectations and I was pleasantly surprised. Are you on crack? I really appreciate that they kept what worked from the original book and film and didn't change much. They did change it, they just made it last even longer than it should have. They added a little flair, did they, Where? But in an appropriate manner. Again, where? The window scene is my favourite. In the original, they did a beautiful job with it. The plot of the story really carries the movie, and the pacing was good. No, it was not. The effects weren't over the top. Some people expected too much. If it wasn't like enough like the original, people would complain. And now that it stays true to the storyline, people are still complaining. If you like Stephen King and vampire flicks, it's worth the watch. I love Stephen King, and I love vampires. Have you seen me, for fuck's sake? So, no, it's not like the original movie. They tried to make it. I don't know what they were trying to do. What was the vision of their success, put it that way. I don't know what they were trying to envision when they thought, you know what, we're going to reboot Salem's Lot, we're going to try and make it look like the original, we're going to drag it out so much that the actual people who have read the book, watched the original, and literally love the writing of this story and this universe. Let's drag it out for an extra, say, hour more than it actually fucking had to be, when they could have actually backed it up with lore and history of the town, like they do in it. They do it sparingly in it, even in the remake, but they didn't really. They just spoke of things of Jerusalem's Lot and things not being the same with that house, and every time someone inhabits the house, things happen. But again, there is no evidence really that people even know about the things that are happening, and this guy has returned to a place where the most traumatizing event happened, where his parents were killed. And they said it was in a car accident, but again, it could have been another reason. And it was a cover up, like a lot of these movies and these stories are. They use a cover up to actually, prevent people from finding out things from their town because it's a small town and small town mentality are completely different. Well done, take on a classic book. I was very impressed with this film and I was worried because it was shelved for quite a few years, like anything. It will get plenty of negative attention because people like to complain about everything. The film exceeded my expectations and I will watch it again soon. Great cinematography and eerie shots. It is obvious that a lot of effort was put into the production of this film. No. They had a lot of story to tell in just a couple of hours. It was under a couple of hours. It was an hour and 54 minutes, and there was a lot of things in there that shouldn't fucking be in there, and there's a few things that should have been that weren't. So right from the beginning, they got right into it. No, they didn't. The original miniseries was longer. Again, the original miniseries was an hour and 40 minutes. This is an hour and 54 minutes. And the actual mini-series that came out 25 years later with Rob Lowe was only an hour and 31 minutes, so someone's talking absolute shite, or obviously can't tell the fucking time. KKO Shell 13816, who obviously doesn't know how to read a watch, but hey. King's classic emerges from the mist. What a plonker. I read Salem's Lot. I read Salem's Lot when it first released ages ago. Of course you did. Also saw the series based on the novel. Of course you did. This adaptation is quite clever and holds your interest, not Disney. The cast is strong, not Disney, and the direction keeps it moving along. One of Stephen King's most masterful works, again, it is, but when people adapt it, it sucks. And he was even on the fucking writing of this movie, and yet he thought this was good. It just shows how fucking delusional Stephen King actually has become. The book will keep you up at night. If you're scared by horror, don't read horror books. You'll close the blinds when the sun sets. Again, nope. This rendition is not frightening, but it does have its moments, as this is October and all things Halloween. And again, you don't need to watch a horror movie in October, you can watch them any time of the year. It makes it easy to settle down and let your mind drift away to a little sleepy town somewhere in Maine. Most people want to go to Maine to see if it is as creepy as fucking Stephen King fucking portrays it in his movies. It seems to be like he grew up in a really small type place that nothing happened and he wanted to create a universe because the place was boring as fuck. Don't get me wrong, it generates people going to Maine. There's lots of things to do there, but yeah, people are coming for Stephen King. The Master himself would be very pleased. The Master himself was one of the fucking writers, you dumbass. Lugar Jones. Ugh. Great and intelligent horror film. If I read any more 10 positives, I'm going to actually start throwing things. So, 1-star reviews, let's see. A Stake Through the Heart. Billy Boykins. Let's see what you have to say with your 1 out of 10. It's a fucking story here, but maybe this will be a good one. If you're reading this, it's probably not too stretch to assume you're a fan of the novel and or Tobe Hooper adaptation. You may also be aware of the production issues faced by this particular incarnation, so we can dispense the backstory. Director Gary Doberman was always facing an uphill battle by taking on such an iconic title, as the original adaptation was regarded as almost genre-defining by those who caught it in the initial release. To be fair to Doberman, I'm reviewing this as a standalone telling of Stephen King's story. Again, Stephen King was the main writer, Doberman was the director, and was obviously assisted Stephen King, obviously, because it was his view, but he got Stephen King involved. Stephen King won't give up the chance to make more money, believe it or not. The film starts well, capturing the colours and the sounds of the 70s America. At one point, I had high hopes for it, but that optimism was short-lived, and then when it slips, it bounces all the way to a place where even the abysmal graveyard shift didn't go. Just when you believe it can't get any worse, it goes there unashamedly and sticks 2 fingers up to your hopes and expectation. Who needs them? This is Doberman putting a stake through the heart of Stephen King and Tobe Hooper without as much as a nod to the audience. The film is rushed, and the film is, for a film that drags, it rushes at a pivotal part of the movie that it shouldn't actually be rushed. The build-up should have been steady and not dragged. But Stephen King was on this project, people. You need to fucking remember that. So if he found something was wrong, he could have said, but he didn't. There's little to no character development, which I agree. Ben Mears is Entirely undercooked and appears as just another soulless cardboard cutout. Straker is terribly written. Cheese, please. Barlow is almost non-existent and looks like an extra from 30 Days a Night. He looks like the fucking child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. The Marston House, the beaten black heart of Salem's Lot, is merely a token backdrop, and its absence for most of the movie is a clear indication that Doberman simply didn't understand the source material. Then there's the finale at the drive-in, utterly ridiculous. I like the finale. So did my husband as well. But it was, you knew it was happening the minute you seen all the cars sitting there and no one else was about in town. You knew they were in the boots and you knew that fucking shit was about to go down. But to get there, you had to sit through over an hour of shit to fucking get there. And dumb humans, dumb adults, where the children were more smart and more intelligent, yet they didn't listen to them, so it was stupid. King saw it before its release and said it was pretty good. He went on the internet and said it was like fucking amazing because he's full of shit. What else could he say? But he questioned why the director made so many changes to the written book. He was on the fucking writing, for fuck's sake. I can accept change. I thought Kubrick's take on The Shining was incredible, and indeed, the Tobe Hooper's 1979 adaptation of Salem's Lot itself was an outstanding memory from the era, but this garbage is simple wasted opportunity to create something worthwhile, and it should have stayed in the warmer vaults where we could at least have wondered what might have been. Because again, Warner Brothers have shelved lots of things over the years, and this has been before they've brought in obviously Atomic Monster and Vertigo Entertainment. It seemed that Warner Brothers didn't believe that it was going to go anywhere or didn't think it was going to be a hit. Well, they were fucking right, weren't they? So let's see another 1 out of 10. Like watching a really bad movie and fast forward. When at point did it actually fast forward is beyond me. I vividly remember sitting in front of the TV for 2 nights in 1979, taking in the original Salem's Lot and loving it. In my older age, I'm not much for vampire movies, but I still return to Salem's Lot from time to time because of the nostalgia and the fact that its quality of production. It is the quality of production, and also it was pivotal for horror and vampirism in movies, because before we had things like Nosferatu and Dracula and everything like that. But this was a different take on vampires and the way they looked, well, aesthetically, and also that they came to Salem's Lot. You didn't really hear about them being elsewhere. It was Salem's Lot, and that's what made it different. And that's what everybody likes about the original Salem's Lot, because it is different. It's not like other horror movies, and yet they tried to encapsulate some of 1979 in it, but they failed. It was very anticlimactic, like I said, the full story. So it didn't matter if they kept like bringing in things from the original movie and the miniseries that released 25 years later, because the damage was done when they fucked up the story from the start anyways. The events moved so quickly that someone new to the story would be completely lost, but in the end it's irrelevant because it's all so bad. The acting is generally pretty poor and the characters come across as silly. Barlow's caretaker is played like a Saturday Night Live skit, like a cartoon creep with wild eyes and a bad accent. Well, you're not wrong there. And can we talk about Susan's mother? This is played so over the top and hammy that it's ridiculous. The kid playing Mark is dead boring, but Mark is one of the most fucking intelligent ones out of everyone. He's nothing more than a fearless badass with absolutely nothing of the intensity of drama of Lance Kerwin. Again, Susan's mother I did speak about when I was actually going over the story. She was the one who made the decision about her daughter. Her daughter didn't want to be with that guy who apparently was obsessed with her, like a fucking stalker, and he turned into a vampire. He was promised he could have her. The mother offered her up. She's a fucking adult. And again, that's abusing her power as a mother. And also, that guy just comes across as a complete cuck and a cunt for basically forcing someone to live forever with him when she wasn't interested in when he was alive. So yeah, I don't agree with that either. So she can keep control of her daughter so her daughter doesn't fucking leave. What the fuck is control? What the fuck? And who would have thought a little antiseptic and some rabies would be the antidote to a vampire bite? Because it's not. It just staved it off. It didn't fucking save her. The whole thing about putting two tongue depressors together and being surprised they didn't ward off evil was laughable. But worse, when it only took some tape and a few stock religious mutterings to make it glow with holy protection. This is the horror for 7-year-old kids. This is horror for 7-year-old kids. And again, 7-year-old kids that are watching Goosebumps and stuff are actually getting a better quality of horror. And I'm not slagging off Goosebumps. I'm not a big fan of the remake. I love the original TV show and the books. I read them growing up, so I'm not coming for them. The drive-in segment at the end was so much like a bad action film that I started typing this review with the movie running in split screen. There is absolutely nothing redeeming about this, and it just confirms the talentless hacks that run Hollywood. Yes, I totally agree with that. These sort of half-assed debacles should be little more than embarrassment for all involved. And again, I agree. It gets 5.6 out of 5. So I'm going to read one of the reviews. So it's usually 5.6 would be 5.5. So it would be a 6-star. Go for a 6-star and see what they said. Should have been a mini series, lacks development and character. But technically, the other mini series that they did release, one, like I said, the original was a mini series and it only lasted an hour and 40 minutes. The other one was an hour and 31 minutes, and this one was an hour and 54. So they could have made this a 2-part. But the only thing with 2-part Stephen King is they put everything into the first movie, and then the second movie is shite. We find that out with It, the original It with Tim Curry that I love, but the second part is shit. Everybody will tell you the second part is shit. Then It, the remake that came out a few years ago, was the exact same. The first part of the movie, we went to see it at the cinema, my husband and I, and we laughed all the way through it as people were fucking shitting themselves. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? It's a child killer that you shouldn't be laughing at. You shouldn't be laughing at a guy a fucking entity that abducts and kills children and then tortures the ones all around town. You shouldn't be laughing at him. You should be fucking scared of him." But we laughed so much we cried. So again, doing a mini-series correctly is different from doing a mini-series and failing, and that's pretty much what the last Salem Resort remake actually did in 2004 with Rob Lowe. It literally failed. It never even got a TV show in the UK, it went straight to DVD. It wasn't even on the TV. So that's how much they believed in that story back then. So let's see the 6s out of 10, which is 5.6 out of 10. Because it's went over 5.5, in my head, it rounds it up to 6. Yes, it's very maths, but we'll get through it. So, should have been a mini-series, lacks character and development. This is Mr. Bickle the Pickle. Yeah, that's the person's name. No, I have read the book, so I can't compare it to. I haven't, sorry, read the book, so I can't compare it to that. I love the look of the vampires. Again, have you seen the original movie? Because they look better. There was definitely a good creepy atmosphere. No. Good action scenes? Definitely not. It had the makings of a good horror movie? No, it didn't. I just think it would have fared better as a miniseries. Again, there's so much shite they could have put in a miniseries. It would have fucking lost track anyway, because they lost track halfway through the film anyway. Then they continued down a narrative and then sped it up, and then we were like, what the fuck? We needed more time to get to know these characters better. Again, there wasn't. This is a story that doesn't have a big backstory and history with the people involved. The things we want to know about are the master and the house. They tried to do that in Salem's Lot the second time with Rob Lowe. They tried to explain what the house was, what the house meant, and what this entity actually could have been, because they weren't actually 100%. So, again, you didn't need to know about the villagers in the fucking town, as I put it. You didn't need to know about them because they're collateral damage and they will die. So we don't need to know about them because they're not important to the story, which sounds terrible, but they're fucking not. I think it says we need more time to get to know these characters better, more time to develop these relationships. No, we don't, because it's not about that. I think Lewis does a really good job, a good acting job with what he is given, but his character needed more development. No, it didn't. His backstory doesn't play into the story in any way, except for a vague only the outsiders win. And again, it didn't even play out that way, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I thought him being a writer, besides being the obvious Stephen King stand-in, would serve a purpose, but he wasn't there to write about Jerusalem's Lot. He was there to write a story because he got writer's block, and he decided to return to a town where a traumatic event happened from, where his parents were killed. So, no, he got writer's block and he decided to go to a town that pretty much a traumatic event happened to him that probably most likely still affects him today. Again, it didn't really give you much information showing you that. It showed you like a minor glimpse of his past, and then that's it. So again, it made no sense. They could have just literally just said that he grew up there and then he fucked off to live with relatives. Didn't they fucking tell you that his parents died and stuff? Because they never actually went into if anything dodgy happened to his family and that could be the actual cause of their death, but they didn't. So let's move on. He's kind of a nothing character. Yeah, I agree. The only thing we know about him is his parents died and when he was a kid, and that serves no purpose. Again, at least Lewis does a good job with what little is given to him. But as I said, I think a miniseries would have been better to give more time for the characters. Again, this story isn't for the characters, it's about the Master and his power and him being there and what he does to this town every time he comes back. Because 50 years before this, apparently something happened again, an incident, and this is what Stephen King uses all the time. He did it in Colorado Kid, which was Haven, and that went mental, and that wasn't a mini-series, that was a series that went on for like 5 series, and we didn't need 5 seasons, and went off on a fucking tangent, and it made no fucking sense. Kind of how it goes, and I've noticed that about when Stephen King movies are adapted, especially if he's involved, they go awry, they make no sense to the original actual work and story. So he just loves money. He doesn't care if people shit on his stories. He doesn't give a fuck that his fans get pissed off at him because he seems to pick the wrong people to adapt his movies. There's a big ego there with Stephen King, and I'm not really fucking going through that because I'll be here all fucking day. What do I give this movie? So, what is my review? Well, like I said, it was slow and anticlimactic, and it felt like it was lacking any sort of dialogue. The acting was subpar, and the overemphasis on the town and normal life over creepiness of a town that has got a horrific history of supernatural no one really knows about, or how, or why, or what, or where, and why does this keep happening? Similar, like I said, to it. I've come to the conclusion that Stephen King is writing books about what his true persona is like, that he is a stark, twisted individual and has, with his questionable behaviours, who he surrounds himself with, is a true indicator that he is not who he claims to be and should be approached with caution. I give this rendition of Salem's Lot 1 out of 5 because I like the eyes and the nostalgia of the movie and the past without technology from our time to pass for this time or that time. Stephen King fangirl in me and a remake that was similar to the last reboot that failed things instead of listening to fans and their thoughts of the original story and what we have been missing and just continued to go with the slow ass drag. Then this hit us with an anticlimactic ending that made no sense and gave us no closure again. Tell me your view of Salem's Lot by HBO Max. I would love to hear your views and opinions on the movies that we watch here at Confessions from the Dark Side that we review and discuss here. Let me know in the comments below. And that was Confessions from the Dark Side, Reviews from the Dark Side, Salem's Lot HBO Max Reboot, Reimagining. If you like content like this, remember to go check us out in Confessions from the Dark Side social media platforms or Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Music, Spotify, and Buzzsprout. Let us know what you think on our social medias and let's get chatting about this topic, all the topics. Let's grow our community and spread how awesome the Kimura community actually is. If you need to reach out to the channel at any point, please feel free to email us at confessionsfromthedarkside, all lowercase, all one word, at gmail.com. If you have anything that I may have missed or you want to speak about something, if you're angry about something, if there's something that you think is not right, if there is a story, an article, or anything that you would like us to discuss here, please feel free and email us at confessionsfromthedarkside at gmail.com. I'm Lady Darcy Darkness, and as I said, that is Confessions from the Dark Side, and this is Reviews from the Dark Side. And I'll see you in the next one. Later.